Doomers, pay no mind to the chemical fires burning in bright primary colors or the IQ of the average swing state voter. They're not getting into Mensa, and neither are you. Once again, you guys are listening to Super Despair World, the only podcast that will never be taken down by the agents of Mossad. We're in for a rough one this time, boys, but you don't have to go in unprepared, because we've got just the thing for you.
Yeah, so if you want to be a part of this wonderful social experiment that God has bestowed upon us, you can come be a part of this by hopping on. We got a Patreon. That is at patreon.com/superdespairworld. You can join that for free, or you can pay a sinister $6 or more for access to a bunch of cool, really awesome, wonderful, and great bonus episodes. And what are we up to now with the bonus episodes? 11?
So at the time this one goes up, it'll be 11. One of them is unlocked, but it's going to be like over a dozen hours of more show for your buck. So go check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And on top of that, we also have a Discord, another novel idea for a podcast. You can also join that for free, for now at least. So, get in on the ground floor, baby. There's a bunch of cool people in there. You can ask us questions that we have some episodes where we do a little Discord Q&A. We're actually due for another one of those pretty soon, I think. And
probably next episode after this one, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, and also some suggestions for content that you want us to cover. And we have done a bunch of those suggestions before, always looking for more. And at the very absolute least, just come talk to some really cool-ass people. And you can also try to crash the recording channel that we're in right now before one of us hops in. So that's you could join the Hall of Fame of people who've successfully gotten in there just to fuck with one of us.
There's been at least a couple. Yeah. I have to say, I don't know if this reference will be lost or anything, but when you refer to the show as a social experiment, I just think about like how funny it would be if one day I post to Twitter like, Super Despair World has been an experiment by the University of Columbia. Thank you for participating, and then just never post anything ever again.
That would be awesome. And then we publish a paper like 6 months later, just like degenerate idiots on the internet and their likes and dislikes. A paper by just a bunch of smart PhD.
I need this for my thesis in podcastology.
Yeah, it's important stuff. It's an emerging field.
Yeah, maybe it should stay emerging. We'll see. Guys, I don't know how to start this one. I feel like this has been something we've been thinking about doing for a little while, and it's kind of nearing that time of year. So like around the time this episode goes up, we're like a month away from the 1 year anniversary of doing the show, which, yay, hooray, whippy, woo, woo,
yeah, pew, 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 pew.
Yeah, whatever. That's the good news. The bad news is we're also a month away from the election in the US, which is a very depressing thing to talk about. And I don't know how much we're going to get into it today, because like, look, we're a dumb comedy podcast. We're not like super serious like political commentators or like Washington D.C. wonks or some shit. But I thought maybe we should do an episode around this time of year as it gets dark and cold outside and we all think about how miserable the world is, about dooming and why we should not do it, and maybe how to avoid doing that.
Yeah, we're anti-doomer on this show, despite being named Super Despair World. It's quasi-ironic. We actually don't think that that despairing is a great mechanism for just dealing with the ups and downs of life.
Yeah, I like when I came up with the show name, my goal was to make it sound like a quirky like old school video game level about how miserable the entire world is. And I think that really captures like, oh yeah, things don't just suck these days. There's like entire fucking like well-oiled industrial machines producing the suck. And we just kind of have to sit there and take whatever comes off the conveyor belt.
Exactly. And they want you to despair, goddammit. And you can't let them. You can't let these motherfuckers.
They triple parentheses. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We're not about that.
Yeah. We disavow all that shit.
Yeah, that's not good. Sonic says don't. No, I'm not doing my fucking. I can't do it. It's not coming to me today. Whatever, guys. Don't do it. But anyway, I thought maybe to start off, let's just have a little chat about Dave. What's fucking depressing these days? What are you dooming about, or maybe not dooming about?
Well, there's a lot of things that people are generally bummed about. As far as my generation and those below them are so apt to complain about, and rightly so. It's like the cost of living kind of sucks for a lot of people.
Dude, it sucks ass.
Yeah, it sucks ass. The biggest thing is housing, which is like, the funny thing is, like, when you talk like in elementary school or something about like the basic your basic needs, it's like food, shelter, and clothing. We can talk about clothing in a minute because that shit fucking sucks too. Food is like, I don't know, like, your fucking McChicken is much more expensive than it used to be. And
or
that's a bummer.
If you live up here in Canada, basically all the fucking grocery stores are owned by like, what, 2 or 3 people or some shit. So.
Yeah, that's a the socialist dystopia of Canada where, there's just like fucking food monopolies for groceries. That's awesome too. But I think the one kicking everyone's ass, and I know it's especially prevalent in the US and in possibly even more so Canada, because I know I've seen some people on like social media in Toronto specifically, but I know this is definitely a thing everywhere. Your neck of the woods, the BC, Vancouver-ish region also is just like, it's like number one, just, I mean, buying a house is just fucking forget about it. But even just rent is fucking crazy. I think
I've brought this number up in the past, but to put into perspective, I had an apartment in Vancouver for college back between like 2016 to 2019 or so, and I was paying in Canadian funny money, so adjust for real dollars. I was paying about like just under $900 a month for like a place like 10 minutes out of downtown, which was pretty nice. It was like a 1-bedroom, whatever. It's been a few months since I checked, but like every time I check the rent of the building that I used to live in, it's gone from like just under 900 to now it's in the like low to mid like 2000s. So it has like basically tripled. So it's like, oh, that's miserable. That sucks. I've literally been like priced out of moving back to my hometown, or like never even mind living in Vancouver anymore. Like I'm never fucking gonna make enough money to go back there. So
yeah, and it sucks because I'm a city guy. I like city life, but it's fucking tough to live in any of these places, and the thought of spending like half of my income on rent, it's just not great. It's just not great, man. I don't like it. And especially coming from, I mean, in my time in Korea, I mostly had my apartment taken care of by the place I worked, which, I mean, that's not an ideal system because they kind of have you by the balls, but the short amount, well, it was a few years where I actually got my own apartment, which I paid for. The rent in Seoul was actually not terrible. We're looking at $600 to $800 a month US. The problem in Seoul and in Korea in general is that you have to come up with what they call key money, which is just like they just hold on to like 5 to 20 grand, sometimes more. For you to just like live there and pay rent on top of that, which like you get all that money back, but I mean supposedly, but it's just like
that's an insane deposit. Holy shit.
It's fucking insane, and it's like it's not even really meant to be like a deposit. It's not like a security deposit where like if you fuck up the apartment they keep it, although they will. It's just like a system that they came up with where it's just like, oh, just like give us a shit ton of money. What they do is they invest it, and that's in fucking crazy air quotes there. And like also you're giving your money to just some random person. I don't know if those funds are like protected by the government. You would think so, but I've heard of people just like losing all of this shit, and it's just like goodbye. And then also like, cool, like you get it back supposedly, but like, okay, cool, you move out, they give you your 10 grand back. You have to live somewhere, so you don't just have 10 grand. You use that to fucking deposit on another place. Like, great. So it's just a never-ending cycle of some fucking landlord holding a bunch of your money, and on top of that, you pay them rent. Like, fuck, dude. It's not a great system.
It really sucks. I've never lived in Korea or Japan, but I think, I don't know, in some ways it seems like housing might be a little bit better there just because it's like extremely dense, and I feel like more people over here should be okay with, I don't know, the what's the quote, living in the pod, eating the bugs, whatever. I think if it was relatively affordable, a lot of people living in the city would be comfortable living in like very cramped small apartments or whatever. I'm not saying that's necessarily like a good thing, but I don't know. I know back when I was in college, I would have taken that over like nothing at all. So I don't know, there's something there.
The thing is when you live in a place like a city in Japan or Korea or something like that, you don't have to be at home all the time. Like you can go home to sleep and, you know, hang out and fucking fuck around on your computer, take a shower or whatever. But like you want to eat, you go walk a fucking block and a half and go get a cheap meal. You want to drink a coffee, you go to a coffee shop. You want to drink with your friends, you go to the fucking pub, and everything's like cool and chill and local and affordable. I think the reason that like a lot of Americans and Canadians, North Americaners, think that the prospect of living in like a studio apartment or something is unthinkable. It's because they spend all their time at home. And yeah, and if you're somebody who never fucking leaves a house, yeah, that would fucking suck.
It could also be the case that like maybe you get an apartment in like fucking like Houston or some shit, and like you can't go anywhere or do anything without a car anyway. You know?
Exactly. So yeah, I mean like I used to in Korea, I used to go fucking grab a bite for lunch. I used to go to coffee shops. I used to go fucking grab a drink at a bar like all the time, just like on a whim, just like, oh fucking, you know, walk out of my door, go across the street and fucking have some shit and then go home and fucking go to bed or chill out or whatever. But yeah, like I don't do that anymore here because I don't live that far from civilization, but it's like I'm not gonna like drive 15 minutes to a coffee shop to go like sit there and have a coffee. It doesn't make sense. I'll just fucking drink coffee at home and sequester.
Yeah, I was pretty lucky when I lived in Vancouver. I lived in the Heights district of Burnaby, and it was pretty nice because from my apartment's front door, it was like a 2-minute walk to like a bus stop that took me like straight downtown or to like a bunch of other places or to college up in North Van, or there were like a bunch of restaurants. There's a really good steakhouse I used to get. They had like the best fucking fries I've ever had in my life. There was like a good Indian restaurant. There was like a Pizza Hut, which sucks, but you know, it's pizza. It's an option. There was also like one of those like 24/7 McDonald's there, which was also really good sometimes when I was coming home. And there was also just like a dollar store like within walking distance. It was like a 30-second walk from my front door. It was wonderful. But yeah, it is what it is. I don't know, maybe to answer my own question here, what have I been depressed about lately? So I've been thinking about this, and I think I've had conversations with people, and I realized that there's a term for my living situation right now, which is apparently I'm house poor, which is to say I don't really have any like debt from like medical stuff or college, and I own my own house, but like in my house, we barely make enough money to like cover all the expenses every month. So it's like, oh, I own a house, but I live in a very like isolated rural area, and like we don't really have a lot of money for luxuries or whatever. And like I don't know, I've just had a lot of stresses about money lately, and about like, oh, all these things I want to do online as like little side gigs that maybe will pay off and be like a full job someday. Oh, these are not paying off right now, and that's like a huge drag. But I don't know. It feels like I often think about like I listen to all my friends talk about like the situation with their jobs, right? Like I have all these friends who went to college, they've got like bachelor's degrees, some of them have master's degrees, and like they have struggled to find work like once or like at all since graduating relevant to the degree they got, or like they spent all this money on college and they're just like working the same like shit ass like entry level jobs as everybody else. And like I often think, I don't know, would my life be better if I just like got a job in retail right now? And I'm not necessarily sure. I'm often thinking about like, okay, if you go into like YouTube or I don't know, some other like online business venture, it's like, okay, not everyone's entitled to be popular and have their shit take off. It's like a lot of it comes down to luck and things like that. But in some ways, I feel like, I don't know, maybe just the small potential of having any growth at all makes it more worth doing than a traditional job. And I've just been, I don't know, my mind has been dwelling on a lot of things related to money and employment lately, and it's been stressing me the hell out this month.
Yeah, I mean, facts. I mean, you got to do that shit for the love of the game. If your end goal is just to make money, yeah, it's just easier to just work a normal job. You'll probably do less work for more money for a while at least. And it'll be a little bit less stressful, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. We're in kind of a liminal phase now where there's really no clear roadmap to success. The salad days of the boomer era are over. You don't just like go to school or not, and then just get some job somewhere making like a living wage. You work there for 60 years and retire with a pension. Those days are long fucking gone.
I will say all the most like well-off, comfortable people I know are people who like got some sort of degree in like something tech related, and then they worked like a miserable job like related to that for however many years. And it seems like if you do work in tech, you can kind of work yourself up to a position where you're like barely doing anything every day, but you have some like vital knowledge that like keeps the server machine running or whatever, and like you can just live off of that. But it's like, okay, that's not really great advice to give people about like, oh, just get a degree in tech, it'll pay your bills, because I know for a fact that there's a lot of people with tech degrees who are not making it or doing very well. So like I'm just talking to like a very limited subsect of people that I know in my own life. And even then it's like, okay, well, if you wanted to do something like that now, it's like, okay, go to college or like a program to learn this stuff for however many years, and then work your way up. I don't know, it's just not a quick solution to like, if you're struggling to pay the bills right now, how the fuck are you gonna lift yourself up out of that hole? And it's like, well, I don't know, yeah. It's hard.
Well, that's the thing. It's a fucking crapshoot, and all the people I know who are doing very well for themselves, they kind of lucked into it, and they will admit that themselves. Mm-hmm. And they're riding that wave, and I got no hate on them for that at all. But there are a subset of people, luckily I don't know them because I'd probably just abuse them verbally until they cried, who are just like, oh, well, I did this, what's your excuse? And it's like, bro.
Yeah, it's a very fuck you got mine sort of mentality.
Exactly, 100%. And
I think yeah, I'm not gonna begrudge anyone for like, if you have a good, well-paying job, if you're not like super worried about money or something right now, I think, you know, hey, congrats. I think, you know, yeah, that's the great baseline that everybody deserves in an ideal world. But I think if you are in that position, you do gotta owe it to yourself to be honest about like, okay, I'm not here 100% on my own merits. There's some bullshit thing in the economy that lets my like bullshit ass job exist in the first place.
Right, right. And I think what we're going to see with tech in the next decade, if not sooner, is like all of these smug code monkeys who think that they just have this like infallible skill that they deserve to make like 120K a year. That shit's either going to get replaced by AI, outsourced to the Philippines, or your job's just going to get cut because it's fluff. Like the days of never-ending VC money and 0% interest, and all of that, and just like the bubble, the second coming of the .com bubble, which I think we see ourselves in, not quite as bad as like pets.com or whatever, but that's like nobody's job is safe, I guess is what I'm saying. Nobody's job is safe. Don't get too comfortable. You should be worrying about this whole house of cards that everything is built on, no matter what your station in life is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this got me thinking. I was gonna say, of the people that I know in tech, the first thing you should know about tech is that if you work in that industry, like 99 something percent of the people who work in there are like fucking unbearable. Though like one or two friends I have who have a job in tech, like they're pretty cool people, but they're like always complaining to me about their coworkers and like bosses, and rightfully so, because they're all just like the most like insufferable nerds on the planet. It was a couple days ago. I was sharing this in the Super Despair World Discord. I'm pretty sure you saw this, Dave. It was a thing about the comedian John Mulaney, who he was doing a set over at Dreamforce, which is this like big convention thing for like tech guys. And I was looking at the thing I posted again recently, and I just wanted to read this bit here. He says, Mulaney then shared an anecdote about how he and his son, who is nearly 3, like to play baseball in their front yard. We're just two guys hitting wiffle balls badly and yelling "good job" at each other, he said. It's sort of like the same energy here at Dreamforce. And that's really like tech in a nutshell, right? It's just the most like mediocre guys who are always patting themselves on the back about like, oh, we're innovators and trailblazers. There just happen to be like 100,000 innovators and trailblazers in like one spot somehow.
Oh yeah, without question, and just like, yeah, and it's just like this circle jerk of nonsense, and like I don't know, it's held up by nothing, and we're kind of starting to see that now, and people are, I think even the average person is starting to get a little bit like on board with like, wait a second, Uber sucks.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, I think it's hard to not see that like fucking private equity has basically like hollowed out every single fucking industry at this point.
Yeah.
We've talked about the video game industry on the show before, and like basically every video game job now is like, oh, you'll work on a project for a couple years and then it'll like run out of money and then you'll never be credited, or like you work hard on a game for a while and like the game does well and everybody loves it, but you get like fired immediately after launch anyway so that they can boost their like quarterly numbers a little bit. And it's like, I don't know. There's still a lot of people who work in video games right now, but I think we're going to collect on this bill, and we're going to see that in the coming years. I think there's going to be a real like flow of talent and like legacy knowledge leaving that industry for good, because everybody's just going to say like, fuck it, it's not worth it to work in this industry with like no security or whatever.
There's one section of the John Mulaney thing which I also want to read out. Is he said, if AI is truly smarter than us and tells us that humans should die, then I think we should die, he said, looking out to the crowd from center stage. So many of you feel imminently replaceable. And I think that's just like, that goes along with what we were saying, is just like, it's just a bunch of guys like clapping each other on the back, like, yeah, we're innovators in like project management, and it's like, nah, man, like you're not, it's you're not really doing shit. Like, Come on.
There's something to be said about so many industries or like organizations or companies or whatever being like boys clubs. And the real thing about, when we talk about something being a boys club, obviously there's like the problems of like, okay, they're probably going to be like kind of dirty and sexist or whatever, and all that classic stuff. But I think the greatest problem of boys clubs is that the other kind of club that boys can form is a circle jerk, and they all honestly they just like they always become a circle jerk of people like reinforcing each other's like worst traits and dumb mediocre ass ideas. And I think, I don't know, eventually it's gonna come crumbling down. Like I said, like private equity has like hollowed out all of these industries or whatever, and like when you hollow something out, it's gonna stay standing for a little bit. But I think everything about like working and employment and finance and just like the industries we rely on, they all just feel like extremely like fragile right now. And I think
Oh yeah.
I think things are gonna get worse before they get better in a lot of ways.
I think so too, and like I don't know. I'm pushing 40 right now, and I've always kind of felt like like it's you see like things and it's just like, oh man, capitalism bad, like, well, this can't last, climate change and whatever. And it's like at the end of the day, it's like, man, it would be better if these things like were better, but like, it's still chugging along. But I feel like right now it just feels like more than ever, it's just like, yeah, it really does feel like a house of cards, which one gust is just going to topple all this shit over. I mean, we saw that with COVID. Just like the response to this was like, oh fuck, like what do we do? All right, people are dying, but like also we can't. Well, we have to close like restaurants, but also like what? But they need to like live. And now the economy's fucked. Let's give people money. Wait, no, not like that. Okay, let's cut interest rates. Oh wait, no shit. Now fucking private equity firms are buying all the real estate because they have zero interest. Okay, raise the interest. Oh shit, now people can't fucking buy a house. Fuck. All right. Yeah, it's just it's bad. It's pretty bad. And I guess the main takeaway here with all that is like we can't just keep like throwing band-aids in buckets of water on this like bleeding out cancerous fucking burning down system and just be the dog in that fucking meme that just says this is fine, because it's not fine.
That was a Casey Green comic, I want to say, right?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
So, maybe. I think maybe correct me if I get the history or the lore wrong, but there was like a follow-up comic much later where the dog goes like, wait, no, this isn't fine. I'm not okay with what's happening. This is actually really fucking bad. Just to like make the point more obvious to everyone who like didn't get it the first time that no, we should do something about the fire.
Yeah, and the fact that people didn't get that the first time is kind of the fucking problem that we find ourselves in now, man.
Yeah, well, do you have any like memories of like either things being like really, I don't know, weird, or like seeing how bad they were like in the middle of COVID when that first happened? Because I have one or two.
Well, you go first. You might spur some of my.
I was gonna say one of the craziest things I remember. This is a COVID memory, was hearing all these like news stories about like, the waters in this river have been clear and full of like fish and dolphins and shit for the first time in like decades because everybody's like shut down the factories and nobody's like driving their shit ass cars anymore. And like looking at that, I was like, man, lockdown was so cool. It was like, wow, for a brief moment, it was like the world felt like maybe it'll get a little bit better after this. And of course, we went back to how bad things were before, and they're even worse now because, like, I don't know, some people just do not want to like change their lifestyle whatsoever, even if the cost of not doing so is like millions dead around the world, which is a little bit depressing. But
yeah,
I don't know, I guess all we can do is wait for the boomers to die out, and maybe hopefully we still have enough of a world left afterwards to like pick the pieces back up.
well it is kind of heartening in a sense when you look at like, if you look at like Chernobyl, for example, which is probably the biggest environmental disaster in the world, like throughout history. if it, like Chernobyl now, the exclusion zone around that ill-fated nuclear power plant is like a lush, thriving, green, like forest.
I've seen have you ever watched YouTube videos of like urban exploration where people would just take like a GoPro and they like break into some like vacant building or whatever and explore? I've seen people do that where they explored Chernobyl and this was like before the Russia-Ukraine war, obviously,
Right.
where they would just go into Chernobyl and just like explore the big ass like I don't know what they are. They look kind of like power lines, the big fucking like metal structures that you can just climb and they're like several stories tall. It was pretty cool. Honestly, like I think the biggest like threat to that region a while ago at some point during the war was like, yeah, the Russians said they might just like blow up the place to like render it like unlivable or something. I don't know, but whatever. I don't know. The world gets better in some ways.
Yeah,
over
exactly. And the other thing is like, I mean, I grew up near Love Canal, which was another fun, awesome, famous environmental disaster. Which it's now like it looks like a suburban area.
I'm
There's
not
still,
familiar with Love Canal, but just knowing that a disaster has a name like Love Canal tells me, oh, that must have been really bad, huh?
Well, the story of it is there was a guy, I think his name was William Love, and he was building a canal in like the Buffalo Niagara region, and he ran out of money, so he couldn't finish a canal. So all he had was like just down fucking shit ton of money, and he has a big ditch. So what does he do? He fucking takes a contract from from Hooker Chemical, a fucking shitty chemical plant in the area, and they're just like, so like we'll give you a bunch of money if we could just dump this shit here. And he was like, all right, bet. The problem is that was like in a residential area, and like a bunch of people started getting sick, and there was like toxic waste flowing into their fucking into their basements and shit.
Jesus Christ.
So they basically had to evacuate the entire area. So the neighborhood near there and in like the site itself is all like fenced off. But like the neighborhood near there has all been like everybody left. So it's like it's really interesting actually. It's like a bunch of like just a typical like suburban neighborhood, but there's no houses there, and it's just a bunch of like overgrown trees and grass and shit, and like it's kind of spooky, but it's kind of nice too.
I've heard stories of a lot of places like that in Appalachia. I know there was the town that people say is like, oh, this is the town that they based Silent Hill on, which apparently that's not true, but it was this town. God, the name is slipping my mind right now, but it was this town that used to have like a mine running underneath it or something.
Yeah.
And there was a mine fire, and then like it just like it's been burning ever since. And like you can go there now, but it's like they vacated the town. It's just a few streets and like empty lots that are like long overgrown. I do think there's like a single digit number of people who still live there, but it's like, oh, they're like some of the original inhabitants and they just refuse to leave, and like nobody new can live there now, but they're like grandfathered in or something like that.
There's a couple spooky houses in the Love Canal region. It's cool. I kind of respect those people.
Maybe we should pivot at some point, do a few episodes talking about like spooky things around the world, because I look at the numbers we got on that last horror episode. I'm like, maybe the algorithm is right. Maybe we just need to talk about spooky shit more often.
Yeah, let's just be like unsolved mysteries podcasters.
Yeah, let's just be like something like a mix of like Chapo and like Nexpo.
Yeah. Just everything that ends with O.
Yeah, we'll find some more. Just the last thing I was gonna add, man, I kind of touched on this, but the whole thing about that place being called Love Canal just like really rubs in the irony, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a coincidence because, as I said, the guy's name was Love, but yeah, there ain't no love going on there.
Yeah, I forget where it was, but I've been seeing news headlines recently. There was like a big like there was a big fire or explosion or something at this factory that produces like chemicals for cleaning pools lately. I don't know if you saw this. There's like videos of
No.
it going around on Twitter, and it's like a big fucking plume of smoke it looks like a fucking nuclear bomb went off, and it's releasing like chlorine gas into the surrounding area. And they were like, yeah, you guys might want to like stay indoors and close all the windows and like turn off all your air conditioning units or whatever, which is like code for don't breathe, fucking get out as far away as you can for a couple days.
Yeah, without question. And you can't trust these industries to be like, oh, actually you'll fucking die if you're anywhere close to this. Like, they don't give a fuck. I mean, remember the train that derailed in Pennsylvania?
I was just about to bring that up, yeah.
And just released the polyvinyl chloride or whatever analog that they need to make like PVC. Just like immense amounts of it, just like in the groundwater and like in the air. It just and it's just like that. What was that like? No, that was like 2 years ago, right?
It was a while back. I don't know. I want to say, to bring it back to the election a little bit, obviously you look at somebody like Trump in the race, and obviously we can very easily point out all the obvious ways that Trump is bad. But I remember the train derailing incident, and I think there was something that came out about like, yeah, there was like a deregulation passed during the Trump admin that made the railroads less safe or whatever, and that's probably why this shit happened. And it's like, wow, that seems like the real harm of these situations. Like, again, there's a lot of obvious ways that Trump is bad, but like there's more like every time you have a bad government in office, it's like, oh, they're gonna like deregulate all these tiny laws that you don't know the implications of until much later when something really horrible like that chemical spill happens.
Right. And this is a reason that all of these like smug, like Chapo listener type of cool leftists are just like, well, both sides are bad, so I'm not voting. It's like, yeah, dude, the Democrats fucking suck, but like they're not just gonna like disband the EPA. They're not gonna like sell national forests to logging companies. I mean, they might, but like Republicans are definitely going to do that. Like
I just heard Trump give some like completely deranged senile speech lately where he talked about like, oh, let's just have like an hour or something of like unrestrained violence. Like, he's advocating for the purge, guys. I don't want to live in the purge.
Yeah. I'd rather not. Let's not do the purge. I just don't. I mean, like, Battle Royale is a cool movie, but I don't want to live in it because there's a bigger chance. Let's just use this analogy. For those of you who welcome the purge, there's a much higher chance that you're going to end up with a garbage can lid or a walkie-talkie than the guys with Uzis and body armor. You are going to roll a 1 when you think you're going to roll a 20.
Yeah,
it's not happening.
I live in Canada, but I have to say the thought of being like a trans person in the purge feels like being a person like driving the cyber truck in Fortnite, right? It's like open season on my head. I don't know if you heard about that. There was a thing going on where they had like the cyber truck was like a thing you could unlock and drive in Fortnite, and even like employees who work for Epic Games were like, yeah, guys, we hate this too. Just like, go ahead, open season on whoever drives this. And it was great.
And also I heard, wasn't it like buggy, so they had to like take it out of the game for a while?
I think so too, which is like, truly,
it's so fitting. It's so
truly
fitting.
Art imitates life.
Yeah. I mean, my thought when I saw that was they need to put Elon's bloated body as a glider. I think that would be a perfect glider.
That could be pretty cool. There could be something to that. Yeah, that also reminds me, speaking of the Cybertruck, I saw a video. I don't know if it was in North Carolina. It was in one of the areas affected by the hurricane recently. Something came out about like, hey, if you've got like a Tesla or a Cybertruck or something in your garage with a lithium battery and your garage starts flooding, there's a lot of salt in that like ocean water, and it's like causing like fucking lithium battery fires to go off in people's garages, and like that's not good.
Well, speaking about cars, it kind of makes me think of something that I was molding about today, that I was dooming about. Is So I went to my mom's house today, and she told me that I should let my sister know that my sister was there yesterday, and apparently there was a little oil spot in the driveway. So she's like, I think your sister might have an oil leak. So I told her about that, and she was like, she was like, I can afford a car, but I just don't I don't want to fucking get a new car right now. Like, fuck, like, whatever. And I'm having the same issue where my car mechanically is fine, but I noticed some like rust forming around like a couple of the wheel wells. So I ground it all down to bare metal. I sprayed it with some rust reformer, and like I thought I got everything, and I put some like primer on it and shit. And then like the rust is coming through the primer again. So it's just like, ah, man, this is like, it's probably worse than I thought. It's like all the way through the metal, and it's just like, and now it's like I just finally paid this fucking thing off. And it's like, man, I don't want like, so my options are either, well, I mean, I'm going to get real serious about this and just try to cut the fucking cancer out as much as I can. But it's like, we're both in a situation where it's just like, we're both like, man, I just don't want a fucking car, dude. Like, I don't mind driving, but just owning a car fucking sucks, dude. It fucking sucks.
I live in such a small town that I wish we would just install some fucking like old school like San Francisco whatever like trams.
Some street cars.
Yeah, those would be cool. I feel like, I don't know, I live in a relatively small, dense little village up in the mountains or whatever, which, so maybe it would be a little bit costly, but like, if there was just like a tram that passed by my house like every 2 hours or something, and I could just hop on, that would be sick. That would cover like all of my needs.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, that would be awesome. And the reason we don't have that in the places we live is because the auto industry ruined that for everybody. They said better living through automobiles. And now, I mean, if automobiles were quality and affordable, that would be fine. But they're all pieces of shit, which are insanely expensive, that you have to go into debt and be beholden to a fucking bank unless you can pay for a new vehicle with cash, which nobody can do.
Yeah, who's the historical car guy? Was it Gerald Ford or Henry Ford?
Henry Ford.
Henry Ford. Yeah. Right. Gerald Ford was the president at some point, I think.
Yeah.
Henry Ford, honestly, one of the biggest pieces of shit throughout history.
He was also a Nazi.
Like fascist company town guy. A lot of fucked up stuff about him. I genuinely feel like he basically ruined the entire North American like continent by like mandating all that we like build all our cities around cars, and now it's like hard to reverse that or do anything different.
It was partially him. There's also just the auto industry as a whole, and then there was there's a lot of racism behind it. There's the redlining of cities and segregation. People like Robert Moses, a very famous guy in the United States, who had just basically advocated for segregating entire cities by running, highways through them, and also bypassing like areas of cities and towns that, normally before you would drive through these places like, oh, I'll stop for gas, stop for a bite to eat, stop to grab something. No longer. Now it's just fucking drive through that place, get the fuck out of there. Keep those lesser thans in their little corner of the fucking universe.
Yeah, I just hate everything about cars, dude. We recently had to replace the fucking 2004 Volkswagen we've been driving for many years in my family, because it was just like falling apart, and it's like getting to that point where it's like we can still drive it, but it feels like it's not going to be safe, especially now with like winter coming, and we get like fucking like 2 or 3 feet of snow for like 5 months of the year out here. It's like, I don't want to be stuck in the highway in the freezing cold if something happens to that old piece of shit. It's probably still good to drive in the summer, but I don't know. We recently replaced it with this 2017 Nissan something, and this is like, I don't know, maybe this is a little bit of a privileged complaint, but I've been working on finally upgrading to get my full driver's license or whatever. I've been behind the wheel of this thing, and man, it is so like weird for me going from like a 2004 car or whatever, that's like, you know, it's like how I've learned, it's how I've always been driving, to this like 2017 thing with like getting used to all these like 360 cameras and like fucking touch display or whatever. It makes me feel like an old boomer. I'm like a granny trying to figure out how this shit works.
I am a boomer about cars. They're so over engineered right now and just filled with fucking stupid gadgets and bullshit, because they have to be, because how are you gonna sell the 2024 model over the 2023 model? There's nothing fundamentally different about any of these. It's just like, oh, we put a extra big touch screen and some fucking, instead of a shift knob, there's a button, which is 10 times more likely to fail within 2 years. But it's really cool because all these fucking idiots who go to car dealerships and like, whoa, look at this, I press a button and the fucking car shifts for me. It's like, nah, man, that's a bad fucking idea. It sucks, but I'm glad you have a Japanese car at least. I'm Japanese all the way.
Yeah, as much as I resent having to like drive at all, especially because, you know, I live in a rural area, there's like nowhere to go if I don't have a car. I've been trying to like rewire my brain to like find some way to be excited about this, and I think the most successful thing I've been telling myself lately is like, oh, I'm like a fucking like Gundam mecha pilot, look at this cool 360 camera, this thing is super fucking complicated. I'm like, I don't know, it makes me feel a little bit cool.
No, driving is cool and fun. I fundamentally like cars. I think they're like neat machines. It's just I fucking hate the auto industry. It's so shitty and it's so degenerate. Like, oh God, we don't need a new fucking model of a car every year. You don't need to keep adding stupid shit. Just make like a better, more efficient, cool, just nicer and more unique vehicle. And I just go on the road and it's just like carbon copy SUV after SUV, and they all look so cheap and plastic and shitty. Like, I'm gonna
be a little bit of a boomer here. I fucking hate how modern cars look. I genuinely
think
they look better. Like,
they're ugly.
I'm not a big car person. I don't know a lot about automobiles or whatever, but like I look at cars between like, let's say like the 50s to 70s, maybe some a bit more recent. I'm like, yeah, cars used to look way cooler back then. There was
the 50s through the 80s had like cool and unique and like very, very distinct, discrete designs. Like, you can tell a car from the 50s from a car from the 60s and from the 70s and from the 80s. I think the 70s was kind of a dark era for just everything in general, but there was some cool shit in the 80s. But
a lot of my favorites are like late 60s in particular. I think that's the sweet spot for me. But like I look at the difference between like the 2004 Volkswagen and the like 2017 Nissan that we have now, and I'm like, one of these looks slightly shinier, but like I could not really tell other than that at a glance. You know?
Oh yeah, without question.
I saw this tweet once where somebody posted a picture of like a drive-in movie theater from like the 50s or something, and you saw all the cars were like really boxy and bright and colorful, and it was one of those like trad accounts being like, remember what they took from you, why can't we have this anymore? And there was a very eye-opening reply I saw that was like, yeah, we don't have bright colorful cars anymore because cars are so expensive, so people treat them like an investment, and it's easier to resell like a gray or brown car than it is to like sell a bright blue or green or some shit, you know?
Yeah, a car used to be like a thing then. Now it's just like, I guess I get a car, whatever.
It's
cool.
Not, car culture isn't fun and exciting anymore because it's not like, oh, here's all these cool things you can do that now that you have a car. It's more like you need a car to do anything and participate in society. So.
Yeah, exactly. And like having, like, my dad was a My dad was an auto mechanic, and I've seen cars from every area, including some really neat classics. And man, it was really eye opening for me when he had some, like some 68 GTO or something come in. I was just like, man, I could fucking take a nap in this engine compartment. There's just like nothing there. And like in those, like it was totally easy to just be your own mechanic and replace stuff. Like it was so simple. Seemingly there was just so few parts. And now like they've overcomplicated stuff to the point where like it's hard to even take like some modern cars to a general mechanic. Like you have to bring them to like a dealership that only deals with this type of car, and it's only going to get worse with EVs.
Yeah, when my dad passed away in 2019, he was a big car guy, and we had a lot more money as a family back then, so we had a few extra cars that we had to sell, and now we've just been like with the one for the last couple of years. But before he passed, I used to go out driving with him. He had this, what is it called? I looked this up. It was a Ford F-350, the King Ranch variant, which had like double wheels in the back.
The dualies.
Yeah, it was a dually.
Yeah.
It was one of the biggest fucking trucks I've ever seen in my life, outside of like highway semi trucks or whatever. But I have to say, I would not want to own something like that permanently. We did have to sell it, but I do remember being behind the wheel of that thing, and it feels like driving a fucking tank down the highway.
I actually drove a similar F-350 once, and I felt like I was piloting a spaceship. Like I was so disconnected from the world outside. Like it really makes me understand why like current day pickup truck chuds are such bad drivers, because I was like, I feel like I'm in a fucking video game right now. It kind of goes to
your head a little bit. It kind of makes you feel a little too powerful, a little too significant. Like you were literally looking down on other drivers when you were behind the wheel of one of those things.
I also feel so disconnected from the road and the world around me. It's like like I'm looking through the windshield, but it's just like a navigation screen and not just like a window to the outside. If you need a vehicle like that for towing something insane or whatever, I totally get that. But most people are just want.
I'm gonna say even then, I feel like there's got to be a much smaller truck that has like the exact same size bed in the back or something.
Yeah, you'd have to have a crazy fucking heavy trailer to justify that kind of thing. But whatever. I there are certain applications for these things, I guess.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
At the same time, there's a whole like cottage industry of like vehicles and stuff for guys who are like, I'm a rugged country boy or whatever, but it's like, no, you're like a rich upper middle class suburbanite who just likes to LARP as a cowboy.
It's a Sinister Six, baby.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. It's like maybe you remember this. What's the name of those like the fucking tiny little like utility vans or whatever from Japan?
The K trucks?
The K trucks. Yeah, fuck.
Yeah.
I really wish those were easier to get a hold of out here. I know it varies from like state to state, like the legality of those things, and then there's all the like importing fees and then like repairs if you need to like replace a part or something. It's a lot harder, but like I would really like to own something like that, but also too, like, man, I would be a little bit scared taking something so small on the highway when we're like, cars are just too fucking big nowadays. It's a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but at the same time, like, I don't know, I've never gotten into an accident since I was fucking 16. I've been driving a lot, and it's because I generally, not to toot my own horn, I generally like pay attention when I'm driving, and I'm like very wary of it. I drive a car like you're supposed to drive a motorcycle. I don't fucking trust anyone. I don't take anything for granted. I think the reason it's so dangerous to drive a car is because most people are like eating hamburgers while texting, while listening to music, and fucking around, like smoking cigarettes and
If you're gonna die
reading
on
a
the road, it's
magazine.
probably because you crossed paths with like a side character from Idiocracy. You know what I
Oh
mean?
without question. I see some crazy shit, and sometimes the reason that I like just don't even get into any altercations because I'm just like I just assume I'm like that person is a fucking idiot. Oh yep, they are doing a 3-point turn on a 4-lane strode. That's 50 miles an hour. Yeah, cool. Which
Yeah.
I've had my motorcycle license for a while, and I've really wavered about like I do value my arms and legs, but I think I would be okay on one just because like I don't fuck around. But like I mean, I guess I'm not victim blaming anybody who's like been in a fucking car crash or a motorcycle accident. I know people are fucking assholes, but like. At the same time,
Unless you got into the car and you were like fucking piss drunk or something. I know it's like fun to joke about, but guys, like don't drink and drive.
yeah,
Please.
it's not a good idea. It's not a good idea. But then I see motorcycle drivers, and it's like people are like, "Oh, it's so dangerous to drive a motorcycle." Like I know my cousin got killed in a motorcycle accident, and then just like. I'm on the road and I see motorcycle drivers and like splitting lanes, going fucking 90, weaving in and out of traffic. And it's just like, yeah, man, like don't do that. Like, please, for your sake. And not for others, because when you fucking hit a truck head on, it's the truck's probably gonna be fine, but just for your sake and your family and friends, please. I know it's fun. Don't drive like an asshole, please. Just in general, no matter what vehicle you're in.
Yeah, I feel like this kind of turned into an episode about cars, but you know we're pretty late, so maybe let's tie it back to I don't know. Let's try to. I think we had a good vent about things depressing us right now, but like I wanted to talk about like this tendency people have because like when we talk about like this idea of like doom scrolling or people like dooming out or just like feeling really upset about like the state of the world or like things are never going to get better. I want to say like I think it's natural for like everybody to feel this at some point in time, probably some people more than others. And like, I don't know, there's a lot of things people suggest as like quick, easy fixes to these things. Or like, you know, there's a whole like industry about like selling cheap, shitty, like self-help books or like bad, like mental health, like gig economy apps to people. And I think those are not good. Or like we tell people like, oh yeah, just like distract yourself with like movies and video games and porn and stuff like that. And like, I don't know, that's not good either. I feel like, I understand if everybody wants to like get away from like the depressing shit every now and then, but I feel like maybe to start off with, I think a good piece of advice is like rather than like distracting yourself from how awful the world is, you need to like actually like actively redirect your attention towards like I don't know something positive. I could list a couple examples, but
well in addition to that, before you go on with that point, which is 100% valid, I will say that even though we went on a bit of a tangent with all this shit, we have been bitching about things that for the most part that are like pretty relevant to like our lives. I mean, it involves a broader society and stuff like that. But like, my advice is like, I mean, we mentioned the election before, and it's just like there is a tendency. Like I get having anxieties about the like you know politics in general and stuff like that, but like, spending your time refreshing 538 30 times to see like what the odds of Kamala winning over Trump is and looking at like the CNN articles over and over about swing state statistics and stuff like that, it's fucking pointless, dude. Like I'm gonna be straight up with you. It is fucking beyond pointless. none of that means anything. All of this data is bullshit. It doesn't, like, the only data that matters is what the fucking is what the ballot count after the election is. All you're doing is stressing yourself the fuck out, obsessing over shit that's beyond your control. If you wanna donate to a politician, if you wanna go canvass, if you wanna to be an act, that's fine. Go do that.
Or
shit.
donate to us instead. You'll get more. You'll get more for your dollar.
Yes, there you go. But I mean, like, it's not doing you any favors mentally. And that's like the opposite of just like ignore everything and go to your goon cave or play fucking video games until your eyes turn to dust.
Yeah, I mean, like here's a good example to build off of that, right? Like when I say, you know, obviously all this like polling and all this other bullshit, it exists within the context of like a fucking 24 hours a day, 7 days a week news cycle that's meant to like keep you like your eyes glued to the screen and always like clicking for new updates or whatever. Like this information is put out there like all the people collecting the polls or whatever, they're not interested in like making you like more informed or like well read about the world. No, it's just to get clicks and to stress you out. But
Yeah.
Within that, I'm not going to say like, okay, yeah, following politics is stressful and depressing. I'm not going to say like, oh, okay, then just like just distract yourself, just like ignore it entirely. You know, I'm not going to blame someone if they want to like check out of politics every now and then. I think if you have the means and like you can afford to ignore it, then fuck yeah, go for it. But rather than like, oh, just not checking these things at all, I would say a better way to deal with the stresses of politics is to, you know, focus on like actual people, you know, and like actual things going on in your area. There's probably like fucking local government elections or like town hall meetings or whatever where like you can just show up and like give your say and have a vote on things that'll actually affect your small area. You can like get to know other people. Like, I don't know, there's something to be said about like, oh, political canvassing, is that like useful? Does that actually make a difference? I don't know, but you're like out there in the real world, breathing fresh air and touching grass and dealing with other people. And, you know, that's an opportunity to make friends and connections and like people that you might need to rely on if things get very ugly in the future. So like, I don't know, that's what I meant about this example of like, don't distract yourself, like actually redirect your attention towards something good, which is not a distraction. It's like a whole different thing.
Exactly. And 2 points on that. The first one, yeah, absolutely. Like there are so many people who are like Joe Biden, blah blah, or Trump, whatever, and it's like, who is your congressman? Who's who's in your town hall? Who is your mayor? Half of these people who are obsessed with fucking Trump, Biden, fucking Obama, whatever, they don't even know who their senators are. They don't know who is in Congress. They don't know how any of this shit works. So it's just like, yeah, like if you're really worried about like the worst type of people controlling politics, well, get involved locally, because that is way more tangible and that matters a lot more than this just fucking bullshit figurehead. And I'm not saying the fucking president doesn't matter. Yeah, obviously for reasons of the fucking Supreme Court and all this stupid bullshit that our political system is based on. But the other thing too, that I sincerely want to convey to our younger listeners, especially if you're, you know, marginalized, trans, fucking minority, whatever, you poor, you're stupid, you have a weird head shape, the phrenology test came back and you're not going to survive the purge. I just want to
not be admitted into Mensa.
not enough bumps or too many bumps for Mensa. I will say again, as somebody who's pushing 40, I lived through 2 Bush eras. Then the Obama, the Trump, the Biden, and even some Clintons and shit too. I mean, I think even a GHW Bush, but I was too young to give a shit about anything then. But like at the end of the day, nothing really fundamentally changed. The end of the world did not come during the Bush administration, and in some ways you could say that he was even more dangerous than Trump, because Trump is like a fucking crazy ass motherfucker with some like weird views, and he's like very, very manipulatable, but he's also like a stubborn fuck at the same time. Bush was definitely just like a puppet of like the worst ghouls in the GOP, and they couldn't manage to like bring about the New World Order. Obama, who was hailed as like just the savior of mankind, and he's gonna change
I literally
everything.
remember the fucking iconic Obama poster that said hope or something at the bottom. Like, God fucking damn it.
Nothing really changed with him.
We were so naive, dude.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. 8 years of him. We got Obamacare, which is like fucking shit. And like, yeah, okay, yeah, he was fighting it. The House was fucking Republican. Whatever. It doesn't.
There are a
matter.
few phrases in the world that make me see red as quickly as fucking when they go low, we go high.
Yeah.
God fucking damn it, dude.
Yeah, right. And then fucking what did Trump do? I mean, he fucked some shit up. Like he took a shit on the carpet. We're still we got some carpet cleaner. We're still spraying it. We might need to cut that section of carpet out and replace it. It's going to be a little bit of expense, but like whatever. And then Biden obviously did fucking nothing other than just be senile. And like whatever happens now, I really don't want to see 4 more years of Trump. I think it sets a bad precedent, and I just don't want. I'm kind of tired of him. He's not funny anymore. He's not interesting. He's just
lost the sauce.
He's so lame.
The tank is out of gas.
Oh God. And yeah,
I mean, you said 4 more years of Trump, but like, man, I think even if he wins, like, I would be surprised if he lasts like 1.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, seriously. Which, I mean, JD Vance, like that would actually be. I don't want to be one of those people who's like, oh, it would be funny, because it's a little bit more serious than that. But
it would. Well, okay, I want to say in some ways it would be kind of funny, just like knowing all the things, because he's a fucking weird guy. Okay?
He is fucking weird guy. Holy shit.
He's a weird motherfucker. But again, you know, it's. We're taking the election seriously. It would be really bad. I don't want that to happen. And you know, I'm not gonna sit here pretending like, oh, I'm gonna scold people into like voting for the Dems. You know, I have no love for the Dems, but I will say, you know, in case you're listening to this and you're one of these like, oh, you gotta vote third party to break up the duopoly, motherfuckers. I was gonna bring this up during the talk about local elections or whatever. It's like, the number one reason I think you should not take any of the like third party candidates seriously is because like all of those like third party organizations exist to like get a lot of hype and PR around somebody who they put up for president, and they have like no people from that org in like local governments at the state level, no senators, no congressmen, fucking nothing. It's nothing. It's all just a PR thing to sell books.
In most of these people, they don't do this for any type of hope to win. They do this to get their names out there and then eventually get endorsed by whatever party that they lean towards to get like a department of fucking transportation job or like sell books or something like that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have
or
these,
if they're from like CPUSA or like one of these like Maoist groups, their purpose is probably just to like molest people in the organization. Let's be real.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So fuck all these people. Yeah, I mean, just fucking do what you need to do for now. Shit'll get better eventually. And if it doesn't, you know, we're all there for each other. I'm here for you. Email us at Dave at
If you have
superdespairworld.com or Briar at superdespairworld.com, and
Yeah, if
we'll
you
talk
have
you down from the ledge.
if you have no one else in your life, you have us, your favorite podcasters.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, so that's it about the election. I just want to get some other stuff out there. I don't know how many of our listeners might be like deep in the depths of like neatdom, not in employment, education, or training. I think I got it right. Yeah,
education, employment, training. Yeah, yeah.
Guys, if you're not taking care of yourselves, I wanna put a little bit of this out there. I've been in these bouts of depression over the years where like I think when you're like really down about the world and like your life situation and things going on, it's really easy to like stop taking care of yourself. I know back when I was in college, I had this whole thing about like, well, I'm only going to class like one day a week, so like I don't need to fucking like do the laundry. I don't need to like fucking take a shower every single day. I was like, I'm not gonna see anybody anyway, so like who gives a shit? Nothing really matters. And I gotta say, like, if you are not already doing all these like little daily things to like take care of yourself, like I think you gotta start. It's not always a case of like, oh, I just did this one little thing and it turned my entire life around. But I feel like when you make it like a daily habit, when you go through like the ritual of doing all these little things that you don't need to do, you're going to like, I don't know, just start thinking about things and yourself in more positive terms. Like, here's a good example, right? Like, I don't always like make my bed every single day because like I'm the only person who goes in my bed. I don't share it with anybody else. I get up, I do my stuff, I go back to bed. It doesn't really matter if the covers are like super messy or whatever. But I find like every day when I do decide, yeah, I'm gonna make my bed, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna make it look nice and presentable or whatever, it's like materially it doesn't really make a difference, but I feel like going through the process makes me feel better every day that I do that. So like try to, I don't know, find little ways in your life that you can do just small things that might not make a difference immediately, but I think going through the process of that kind of thing and looking after yourself, I do think it adds up over time, and I do think that's a good way to like passively avoid the fucking malaise of dooming.
Look good, feel good. This is a cornerstone of like not falling into like the Rotmaxxing depressive cycle. Yes, fucking, I don't care if you're not leaving your house. Take a fucking shower. Make your bed. Put on some decent clothes. Drink some goddamn water.
If you look good and you feel good, then maybe someday there'll be an opportunity that comes along and you can actually like fucking capitalize on it and not just be like, well, I got invited to go somewhere, but I'm fucking dirty and stinky and I look like shit. And it's like, so I'm not gonna go. Like, no, if you take care of yourself, you're setting yourself up for success. This is like not quite the same thing, but I think this is an apt analogy here. Like we've talked before about like, okay, as a podcast, like we have pretty small viewer numbers or whatever. And sometimes I get down about like, oh, we put out what I thought was a really good episode, but it's only got like 40 views or something like that. Oh, that kind of sucks. But I have to remind myself, like, we put on a good show. We give it our best foot forward. And I feel like if one day we do get that lucky break, like, oh, an episode really blows up and we get a lot of eyes on it, I can look back on like, oh, we've set ourselves up to like capitalize on that because we have a whole like good fucking presentation going on. We have all these like good episodes to show for our time and effort. And I think that's the same case if you like take care of yourself, even when you might not strictly need to every single fucking day.
Yeah, do it for yourself, and that's exactly the thing. It's like we have this fucking nice quality professional professional in terms of presentation. Some people might think that our content is too gross.
It's gonna get grosser, folks. That's our promise to you next year.
exactly. But yeah, I feel good about everything, and it's the same thing. It's just like if you practice just being in good shape generally, then yeah. Just just good fucking habits in general is good because I mean that's one thing I learned in my many years on this planet because I'm old as fuck is just like there have been so many opportunities that came along where I could capitalize on things that I wanted to do, but if I didn't cultivate those in the meantime, it would be too late. It's not just like, oh, this person wanted me to like said, oh, I'm making a band or something and I need somebody, and it's just like, oh well, I'll fucking learn how to play an instrument in 2 days because I really want to do that. No, you get ready beforehand because you never know when shit's gonna come around. So just whatever however you want to be, even just do it for yourself, and I guarantee you, motherfucker, that something will come around where you can capitalize on that, and you're going to be glad that you did it. So no Rotmaxxing, no dooming. Cooming is okay with me. Just don't become like a professional gooner. Just be a.
We did a whole episode about that, probably several episodes if you want our extended thoughts. I think maybe one last thing. If none of my previous analogies have worked, I think maybe this will hit with all the D&D nerds out there. It's easy to like look at what you do and like all your actions and choices every single day. Think of it as like, okay, everything you decide to do, you are rolling some dice, and maybe you've had like a lot of bad luck, or like life is just not going well for like an extended period of time. That's fine. I remember the first time I actually played D&D 5th edition proper, I think I did not roll a single die above like an 8 or a 9 for like the first 5 fucking sessions, which is like over a month of playtime, and I just stuck with it. And I want to say, like, eventually, if you set yourself up for success, eventually you are going to hit that like 19 or 20. And when that moment comes, you don't want to be like, oh, this great opportunity came up, but I'm not fucking attuned to the right magical item. God damn it. And it's like, well, you could have done that. You could have done that before. So like, I don't know, take care of yourselves and try not to think just about like the immediate future. Cause I think when you were like really depressed and dooming out, it's very easy to fall into this trap of thinking like, this is where my mind goes whenever I'm like that. It's like, how I feel in the current moment is how I'm going to be stuck the rest of my life. It's not going to get better. This is just the way things are going forward. I may as well like end it all. Who knows? You have to like kind of disconnect from that a little bit and try to think of things like long term. Like, okay, like earlier today I was working on some art and I was like really struggling with like a complicated pose, like how the fuck do I draw a hand at this angle or some shit, and I was getting a little down about it. I was like, I've been at this for like 2 hours and it still doesn't look right, and I was getting really frustrated. But I had to remind myself like, okay, my art would not be as good as it is right now if I did not make the choice like 2 years ago to start taking it seriously and actively working on it. So even if I'm frustrated right now, I just got to keep at it so that like the me in like another year or 2 or 5 or 10 is like going to be grateful, because like that's the step that I need to take to get where I want to go. And like, I don't know, that's just, you just have to think about life in those terms sometimes, I think.
Exactly. Yeah, that's facts. On God, no cap.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if we wanted to like really beat the point home, I think we've got all our analogies out there. I think, guys, I don't know how the election will go by all the metrics. Like, I don't know, don't put too much faith in polls or whatever. Personally, I'm like cautiously optimistic. I think the vibe is just not there for Trump. I just get this vibe of like weakness and indifference, and I think people are just prone to wanting something different even if they're unsure about it. Yeah. But that's just my opinion. Maybe Kamala will win. Maybe we'll get 4 more years. Maybe we'll get 5 more months, I don't know, of Trump. We'll see. Guys, I don't know, hang in there. We'll get through it. We've been through bad times. There'll be bad times ahead, but we'll find a way to deal with it. And when those times come, your favorite podcast hopefully will still be here to show you the way through.
Oh,
and
it'll be
to
here.
not doom out.
It'll be here, baby. Even if we have to make a pirate radio station somewhere.
I thought about this as
that.
I was saying it. I didn't mean hopefully we'll still be here. I meant hopefully we're your favorite. But if we're not, I will find out.
No, yeah. That's the real. That would be the real tragedy to doom out over, is if any of you took us off your number one favorite podcast playlist. I'm
Let us know if there's a podcast you like more than us, and I will send them death threats.
Yeah, or we can, or maybe we can be on their show.
Maybe
if we ask nicely, maybe
we'll see. I don't know. It's tempting. I've often thought about like, oh, maybe we could guest on someone else's show, but it's like, I don't know if there's anybody else doing a show with quite the same vibe as us. But
exactly. That's good though. We don't want to just do the same thing as them.
Right. We'll see.
Well,
we'll see
anyways,
what the future holds. Yeah. We'll save the shop talk for a bonus episode. Guys, thanks so much for listening. Let's give a little shout out to our favorite listeners. The ones who will never let us down.
Yeah. These are those who never let us down. I usually say in no particular order, but this time it is in a particular order. These are the people who have donated the most. And to like, we love you whether you donate a cent or 1,200 cents or anything in between or beyond that. You're great and we love you. And even if you don't need
I love you if you donate at least 4 cents, because if you donate just one, with the way the currency converts, that goes all to Dave, so I can't have that. Donate at least 4 cents, please.
Yeah, we need at least 4 cents. But all right, so at the top of the list, we got Shalom Guy, we got Weasel, we got Nick, Protagon, Clam, Walker, Trash Bins, Dimbus, Braid, Nilly, Heresy, Trevor, and Woke Baby. Thank all of you sincerely for continuing to support this show. And thanks to everybody else who just listens, because that's fine too. I know we just talked about it's hard times for everyone. We expect nothing financially from any of you, but for those who can give, we like you more. That's
no matter where you are on that list, all of you are my little Shalom guys. You're all my little woke babies. You're all my little pog champs, and I love you all the same.
Yeah. We love and respect all of you, and please know that you will forever remain in the arms of God for ever having donated to this little show that we got going on.
Everyone who's in our patron list is going to see the light of heaven. You guys are all going to make it. The rest of you, I don't know, but there's a way to solve that problem. Thanks so much for listening again. That's all we got for this week. Let's wrap it up. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.
All right. Good fight. Good night.